Welcome to Life Quotes. Today, we will explore wise lessons from meaningful stories. These lessons not only help us recognize the value of humility, kindness, and adaptability in life, but also encourage us to seek knowledge from those around us. Let's listen to these inspiring stories and expand our understanding of life. Story 1. The Wise Old Man and the Young Man. In a small village, there lived a wise old man known for his wisdom. People came from far and wide to seek his advice. One day, a young man decided to visit the old man, eager to gain knowledge and experience. When he arrived, the old man greeted him warmly and invited him to sit down. The young man began to boast about his accomplishments, claiming he knew everything there was to know. The old man smiled but said nothing. After a moment, the young man noticed a small pond nearby. Curious, he asked, "What do you see in that pond?" The old man replied, "I see a reflection of myself and my life." The young man laughed and said, "But you have so much more to offer. You have wisdom that could change the world." The old man then pointed to a frog sitting by the pond. "Have you ever asked the frog what it sees?" Confused, the young man shook his head. "That's exactly my point," the old man said. "You may think you know everything, but there are countless perspectives and experiences out there. True wisdom comes from understanding that we have much to learn from others, even those we may consider beneath us." The young man left with a new understanding. Wisdom is not just about what we know, but about being open to learning from everyone around us. Lesson learned. This story reminds us that true wisdom lies in humility and the willingness to learn from others, regardless of their background or status. We should always seek knowledge and perspectives from those around us. Story 2. The Lesson from the Lion and the Mouse. In a distant forest, there lived a mighty lion known as the king of all animals. Every creature in the forest feared the lion for its strength. One day, after a big hunt, the lion lay down to rest under a cool tree. While it slept soundly, a small mouse accidentally ran across its body. The mouse, unaware of the danger, startled the lion awake. In a fit of anger, the lion caught the mouse in its paw. The frightened mouse trembled and begged for mercy, saying, "Please, let me go. I am small and weak, but if you spare me, perhaps one day I can repay your kindness." The lion laughed, thinking, "How could a tiny mouse ever help me?" Nevertheless, feeling generous after a good meal, the lion decided to let the mouse go free. The mouse quickly scurried away, thanking the lion for its mercy. A few days later, while hunting, the lion found itself caught in a trap set by hunters. The net held the lion tightly, and despite its struggles, it couldn't escape. Roaring in despair, the lion remained trapped, and no one came to its aid. Just then, the little mouse happened to pass by and heard the lion's roars. Remembering its promise, the mouse quickly ran over and used its sharp teeth to gnaw at the ropes of the net. Although it took time, the mouse eventually freed the lion. The lion looked at the mouse with surprise and gratitude, realizing that even the smallest creatures could offer great help. Lesson learned. This story teaches us not to underestimate others based on their appearance or size. Sometimes, the most vulnerable among us can provide invaluable assistance. Kindness and gratitude will always yield positive outcomes, and everyone has their unique value, regardless of how small or different they may seem. Story 3. The Cracked Pot. There was a wealthy man living in a small village. He was known for his ability to create beautiful and sharp swords. One day, a king visited the village and heard about the talented blacksmith. The king requested the blacksmith to make a sword for him. The blacksmith eagerly accepted and began his work. Day after day, he worked hard, stoking the fire, shaping iron, and crafting the sword. The king often visited to check on the progress, reminding the blacksmith to create a perfect sword. Finally, after many weeks, the blacksmith completed the sword. It gleamed in the sunlight and appeared very powerful. However, when the king picked it up, he felt it was heavy and uncomfortable. The king said, "This sword is too heavy. I cannot use it in battle." The blacksmith, instead of getting angry, smiled and replied, "Your Majesty, this sword is not just made of iron and steel, but of passion and patience. I forged it the way I thought would provide strength, but I forgot that comfort and suitability are also important." The king realized that beauty alone is not enough. Functionality and suitability matter. He decided to ask the blacksmith to create a lighter, more practical sword. Lesson learned. In life, we are often drawn to superficial beauty while forgetting the true value of suitability and function. To succeed, we not only need to do our work well, but also consider the needs and desires of others. Learn to listen and adapt to those around you to bring real value to your life and the lives of others. Story 4. The Two Friends in the Desert. There were two close friends traveling through a desert together. They had walked for many days, and the stress and fatigue began to cause arguments between them. In a moment of anger, one friend slapped the other. The one who was slapped felt hurt, but didn't say anything. Instead, he wrote in the sand, "Today, my best friend slapped me." They continued their journey and eventually reached an oasis where they decided to cool off. Unfortunately, the friend who had been slapped slipped and nearly drowned. The other friend immediately jumped in to save him. After recovering, the rescued friend wrote on a rock, "Today, my best friend saved my life." The other friend was puzzled and asked, "Why did you write in the sand when I hurt you, but you carved it in stone when I saved you?" The friend smiled and replied, "When someone hurts us, we should write it in the sand so that the wind can blow it away. But when someone does something good for us, we should engrave it in stone so that we will never forget." Lesson learned. In life, we should learn to forgive small grievances and let go of hurt. However, we should cherish and remember the good deeds others do for us. Forgiveness and gratitude lead to stronger, lasting relationships. Story 5. The Farmer and the Rainy Sky. Once upon a time, there was an old farmer living in a remote village where the sun shone brightly and droughts often occurred. He worked hard on his field every day, but the harsh weather caused him to suffer losses frequently. Nevertheless, the farmer never gave up. Every morning, he woke up early to work, plowing and taking care of his crops. One day, when rain was approaching, the neighbor saw the farmer still working in the field and asked, "Why do you keep plowing and planting when you know it might rain? Your seeds might get washed away." The farmer smiled and replied, "I cannot control the weather, but I can control my efforts. If I give up now, I will never have a chance to harvest anything. If I continue, rain or no rain, at least I tried my best." A few days later, the rain came, but instead of washing away the seeds, it soaked into the ground. helping the plants to grow. That year, the farmer enjoyed a bountiful harvest and realized that persistence and patience had helped him overcome all challenges. Lesson learned. In life, there are many things we cannot control, such as the weather or circumstances around us. However, what we can control is our effort and attitude. Don't give up in the face of difficulties, as success is not from luck, but from hard work and perseverance. Only when we continue to strive can opportunities for success arise. Story 6. The Fisherman and the King. Once upon a time, there was a very rich and powerful king. However, he always felt dissatisfied with his life. Although he had everything one could wish for, gold, palaces, and thousands of servants, he still did not feel happy. One day, while strolling along the beach, the king met an old fisherman sitting by the shore, happily fishing. The fisherman seemed very content with his life. Curious, the king asked, "Why are you so happy when you have just a few fish and live a poor life?" The fisherman smiled and replied, "I am happy because I know enough. I may not have much, but I have enough to live. I may not have power, but I have freedom. Happiness does not come from what we have, but from accepting and appreciating what we already possess." The king pondered over this and began to change his perspective on life. Instead of constantly seeking more wealth and power, he learned to appreciate and be satisfied with what he had. Lesson learned. Happiness does not depend on how much wealth or power we possess, but on our ability to appreciate and be satisfied with the good things in life. We should learn to find joy in the simple, everyday things and cultivate gratitude for what we have. Knowing enough is the key to achieving lasting peace and happiness. Story 7. The Blacksmith and the Sword. There was a famous blacksmith in a small village, known for his ability to create beautiful and sharp swords. One day, a king visited the village and heard about the talented blacksmith. The king asked him to forge a sword for himself. The blacksmith eagerly accepted the task and began his work. Day after day, he worked diligently, stoking the fire, shaping the iron, and crafting the sword. The king often visited to check on the progress, urging the blacksmith to create a perfect sword. Finally, after many weeks of hard work, the blacksmith completed the sword. It shimmered in the sunlight and appeared to be powerful. However, when the king picked it up, he felt it was too heavy and uncomfortable. The king said, "This sword is too heavy. I cannot use it in battle." Instead of getting angry, the blacksmith smiled and said, "Your Majesty, this sword was forged not only from iron and steel, but from passion and patience. I crafted it in a way that I thought would bring strength, but I forgot that comfort and suitability are also important." The king realized that not only external beauty mattered, practicality and suitability were vital too. He asked the blacksmith to create a lighter and more functional sword. Lesson learned. In life, we often get drawn to superficial beauty while forgetting the true value of functionality and suitability. To succeed, we must not only perform our tasks well, but also consider the needs and desires of others. Learn to listen and adapt to those around you to provide real value in your life and the lives of others. Story 8. The Candle in the Dark. In a distant village, there was a small candle that was always lit in a house. The owner was a man who lived a lonely and sad life. Every evening, he lit the candle to dispel the darkness in his home. The candle brought light to him, but also felt weary from always having to burn bright. One day, the candle began to feel despondent. It wondered, why must I always burn for a lonely man when I am consumed day by day? I am just a small candle. I cannot change his life. That night, when the candle was lit again, it saw its owner sitting alone, crying. He had lost his beloved wife and felt he had no more strength to live. The candle realized that its light was not just to dispel darkness, but also to bring hope and comfort to a heart in pain. From then on, the candle decided not to complain about its fate. It understood that every time it burned, it not only illuminated the room, but also warmed the heart of the lonely man. Thanks to the candle, the man found solace and gradually regained his spirit. Lesson learned. We may not recognize our own value in life, but sometimes the smallest and simplest things can bring light to others. Remember that doing good and providing comfort to others will bring joy not only to them, but also to ourselves. Sometimes, even a small light can dispel darkness and bring hope. Story 9. The Old Tree and the Young Tree. In a lush forest, there was a tall, ancient tree with deep roots and lush green leaves. It took pride in its size and beauty. Beside the old tree was a small, skinny young tree that was only as tall as a waist. The young tree often admired the old tree and wished to grow as tall as it. One day, a powerful storm approached the forest. The strong winds and heavy rain were coming. The old tree, with its sturdy trunk, felt confident, believing it would not fall. But the winds were too strong, and the old tree eventually fell, unable to hold on to the ground any longer. On the other hand, the young tree, with its flexible body, felt afraid, but knew it had to find a way to survive. It bent with the wind, swaying back and forth to avoid breaking. After a long time of enduring, the storm finally passed. When the skies cleared, the old tree had fallen, while the young tree remained standing. The young tree looked at the old tree with mixed feelings. It silently thanked its smallness, realizing that sometimes flexibility and adaptability are more important than strength and size. Lesson learned. In life, not every situation can be resolved with physical strength or outward appearances. Sometimes, flexibility and adaptability are the keys to overcoming challenges. Learn to be adaptable and change in order to deal with difficulties, as this very flexibility can help us survive and thrive in the toughest situations. Story 10. The Swallow and the Spring. One day, a swallow flew south to escape the cold winter. On its way, it encountered a group of birds that were unaware of the upcoming spring. They still believed winter would last forever. The swallow, with its experience, tried to explain that spring would come and bring new life. However, the birds did not believe it. They laughed at the swallow, saying, "Can't you see? It's too cold. How could spring ever arrive?" The swallow did not give up and continued its journey. After many days of flying, it arrived at a warm place where flowers bloomed and trees were green. The swallow felt joy as it saw spring returning. Upon returning to the group of birds, the swallow shared its story about spring. At first, they remained skeptical. But gradually, as the weather warmed and flowers began to bloom, the birds realized that the swallow was right. Now, they were not only amazed, but also grateful to the swallow for not giving up on its belief. From that day on, the birds began to learn to trust in the good things that would come. Lesson learned. Sometimes those around us may not believe in our capabilities or dreams, but what matters is to hold on to our beliefs and persist in pursuing our dreams. Remember that spring will come to those who have the patience to wait and believe in the good things in life. Thank you for watching Life Quotes. We hope that today's stories have brought you wise lessons and new inspiration. Remember, in life, we can always learn from the experiences and perspectives of those around us. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on more valuable lessons in the future. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. We look forward to hearing your insights and stories. See you in the next video.